Just me.
Yes. Right, okay, I'll call the meeting to order and ask to stand to the pledge of allegiance. And ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And can we get a roll call, members, please?
Yes, you can. Director Hernandez is absent, Vice Chair Kip. Here. And Chair Testa.
Here.
We have a forum.
We have a quorum. Okay, meeting open to the public. Members of the audience may address the committee. Do we have any members of the audience that would like to address the committee?
I do not have any members from the audience that want to address the committee, and I didn't receive anything in email.
Great, thank you. Okay, then we will move on to item 4, minutes of the April 23rd, 2024 meeting. We need a motion.
We have no public comments, right? So I will move approval.
Yeah, we just heard no public.
Do we need to say it before every single one? Only for the action items? Okay, and then approval on record.
Okay, and so you moved, I second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and moving on to treasurer's report.
All right. Good afternoon. This is the treasurer's report for April 2024. We are, that is the 10th month of our fiscal year. It has gone by incredibly quick. At this point in our fiscal year, or at that point in our fiscal year, we were at 71.75% on expenses. Our revenues are at 79.8, which means we have a healthy cash flow, which we've had for about a decade now anyway. But our revenues, we got a large chunk from the Federal Transit Administration last month, about $5 million. So that helped with on our revenue side. And presently we have great cash flow in all of our accounts. Okay, any questions?
All right, thank you. Any questions? No? No? Nor do I, so can we get a, let's see, this is number 5, a motion to forward to the treasurer's report to the board.
I'll move staff recommendation.
And I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And just on record, there was no public comment there.
All right, thank you. And moving on to item 6, 2024 audit, LAVTA financial statement.
All right, thank you again. And just a heads up, I will be doing a lot of speaking today. If you need me to slow down, please just let me know. As I mentioned, we're now at the end of our 11th month of the fiscal year. We've actually already started our audit. It started last month with some preliminary items. And as is mandatory, our auditor is here to speak directly with the committee. So I will turn it over to David Albee from Mates and Associates.
My name is David Albee, CPA audit partner, and my role every year is to come in and audit LAVTA and to issue a financial statements, an opinion on those financial statements, or whether or not we feel that, in my firm's opinion, that the financials presented to this committee are free from material misstatements. And this memo we have in front of you is a required communication. It's required by auditing standards that as an audit firm, we open up two-way conversations with those in charge of governance. And really what it is to let you know that we have issued an engagement letter, that LAVTA has engaged us to do that opinion, and to kind of give the roles and responsibilities of all parties involved. As an independent third-party reviewer of the financial statements, I can't be involved in the internal control environment of LAVTA. And it's management's responsibility to establish an internal control environment that would prevent any kind of misstatements due to financial error or fraud. And as an auditor, my role is to come in and evaluate management's controls and to issue an opinion on the financial statements. So like I said, we have the management engagement letter. And not only to present the financial statements are fair as presented, but they also are in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, also accounting. In terms of timing, we've already done our internal control testing. That was back in April, where we're looking at policies and procedures, we're creating samples, If the policies and procedures for $1,000 disbursement aren't being followed, that holds enough clout, that's a $10,000 disbursement, in our opinion, it's auditors in terms of looking at the internal controls of the balance. Come back in August to do the final, that's when the books are closed, and we're looking at balances, so cash, capital assets, pension, that sort of thing. And at the very end of that, we issue our management representation letter that's signed by management, saying that they've given us everything in full faith, they're not hiding anything from us. And the date of that letter becomes our audited payment date. So that's kind of a really high level overview. The statement of auditing standard also requires us to ask you a couple questions on the last page of this report in your memo. And it's always a little interesting doing this in a public setting. So if your response is anything other than no, my contact information is down here at the very bottom. So the questions are you aware of any frauds or allegation of suspected fraud at LAVTA from July 1, 2023 to today's date? Are there any areas that you would think are risky or maybe more susceptible to fraud? If there's anything, please let me know. Are there any possible or actual non-compliance or waste and abuse of program revenues? And then lastly, if you're aware of any related party transaction. What I mean by that would be a loan from LAVTA to an employee or a board member, or any kind of, sale of land at a discounted price, or any kind of inter-reaction between an employee or a governing body of LAVTA, anything like that. And that's allowed under circumstances, but we have to disclose that in the financial statements. We've seen that with like computer loans, payroll loans, or even housing loans for general managers in certain districts. A lot of it has to be disclosed. So please review the memo, and if your response is anything other than no to those questions, I would like you to reach out to me.
Thank you.
That's what happened. Thank you.
Do
Okay,
you need an official no statement as well? Should we also just?
It would be better for us to do a no email, but I'm just saying it's a lot of times it's kind of hard to get everyone, especially if there's a large finance and admin committee, or even like an audit committee at a city or something like that. It's hard to get everyone, so I kind of give it like a 60-day window. If I don't hear anything back, I'm gonna assume there's no.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions?
I don't think so. No questions. Okay, well then, this was an information item only, so we'll move on to item 7. Update LAVTA's human resource policies.
Okay, as I mentioned, I'm going through some policies when I have a little bit of free time here and there, and updating or changing or even creating. They don't currently exist. This here is an update to our human resource policy, which was last updated, I think at the very beginning of 2020, might have been the end of 19. And we've made some changes. So there were some things Christy wanted to change, and just how the agencies changed over time. And then there were other rules and policies that were passed, by state or federal, that necessitated some changes. And I was actually surprised. I knew there were some new leaves that had been added. I didn't realize there were so many. There's some great leaves I wish they had when my kids were little. That they didn't have, but they do now. So we have made changes and clarifications to acting pay. We did not have acting pay before. It only works if you're covering for somebody who's above you. But previously, say your manager was out for a long period of time, and you were an hourly employee and you covered for them in addition to your own duties, there was no additional pay. It was just expected. That's what you did. And no one's ever complained, but Christy, having come from somewhere else, really thought we should add that in. Not that it happens often, but you never know. We would like to change the administrative office hours of operation. We're currently open 8:30 to 5, and we do not close for lunch. And we would like to change that to 9 to 4, and closing from lunch from 12 to 1:30. Just to facilitate things here in the office. We don't get a lot of customers that come in anyway, but we always have to have someone there at the front desk. There's only 3 of us who do it. So if, say, Daniel's sick, well, yeah, if Daniel gets sick or something, then, and I have a meeting, Jennifer doesn't get lunch. You know what I mean? It's just, or we had a board meeting a couple months ago, Daniel was out sick that day. So we grabbed our paratransit planner. She's never done a Clipper card, and that's most of our customers are Clipper cards. So we felt that by changing the hours, this would just make it easier for us to get our work done. There's nothing we do here at the front desk that the transit center doesn't do, and they're open from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. So they're more than covered there. And then We changed up the use of personal or agency vehicles, to include no use of, electronic devices. I think it specifically said cell phones, but we don't want people using other devices either while they're driving. And that sort of thing, just kind of some rules around, even if you're driving your own vehicle, agency business. The sick leave for temporary employees was changed by the federal government recently. They increased the hours, so we updated that. And then we added some leaves for reproductive loss. Voting, which we always honored voting and jury duty, but they were never put in writing. School activity and bereavement leave and organ and bone marrow donation are all new, even though, like I said, some of those we honored, they were just never put in writing. So, there is a red line of the policy for you, as well as a clean copy, just based on whatever's easier for you to read. And I will answer any questions.
I think you covered a lot. So any questions?
My only question is, the only reason we also do Clipper cards here is to have multiple locations in the city? Or is it?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know, because somebody made that decision like 15 years ago and I wasn't involved. And then we didn't get Clipper for a long time. But yes, there's multiple locations. This location tends to handle Dublin and Pleasanton a lot. Because the transit center seems so far away and it's not near a freeway. The busy time we get, we don't get a lot of customers. And I actually did video playback between 12 and 1:30 to see how many customers we get. And it's actually very rare that we have customers on. We do get busy the first couple of weeks of school. And our plan is to actually stay open late to like 6 o'clock so that parents can come after work, because parents are coming in to get their Clipper card for their student. So there's like 2 weeks in August that we're really busy, but otherwise it's like 10 customers a week. And spread out all over time, so not usually in the morning. And the phones will still be answered because it does roll over from Jennifer's desk to Daniel's desk to my desk. So that will still be handled. Honestly, if we don't answer, it goes to the transit center so they can answer. So, yeah, it's just kind of looking to make it easier for everyone to be able to work and for Jennifer to get some work done without customers interrupting. Like every time, we don't get a lot of customers, but every time she's reconciling that bank statement and she's right in the middle of it, and somebody walks in, she's got to start over. And it's funny because every time I work on it, anything with reconciling, somebody comes in. So, yeah, it's just really to make things easier here for us and staff.
Okay, all right, great. Well, so that's the end of our report, right?
Yes.
Okay, and no other questions? No, then,
I'll move approval to forward this to the board. We have one attendee. I don't know if they wanted to say anything on record. Do you have any comments? The person that is an attendee? No. So there's no public comment.
okay, great.
Let's just let them raise their hand if they want to speak. Yeah.
All right, then we have a motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. And so we move on to item number 8, LAVTA annual salary band review.
Okay. So every year, as part of our HR policy, we go out and we have a contractor go out and review our salary bands and see if we're competitive in the market. And the goal is to kind of be average. You know, we don't want to be at the top, don't want to be at the bottom. This year, there are actually 2 different studies. So I want to clarify them separately because they are separate. The first one was a review of the actual salary bands, not the dollars, but the bands. And we did this, last year's salary review showed that there were some bands that were just out of whack. And we were going to wait until we did, oh, I forgot what it's called. We're doing a huge study that I can't remember what it's called. And we were going to wait until that time because it's gonna be a study on everything, our operations policies, HR, literally everything. But that was supposed to be done early this year and it got pushed back. It's actually going out to bid shortly. So we asked the firm who did our salary study, or who's going to do our salary study, to review the bands, because we had 3 positions that were showing up as being off. And so, like, what do we do with those positions? What do we do with their bands? Do we create new bands? Do we, so we went and asked the experts. And their recommendation was, so one position is the customer service supervisor. And they said she just needs to be moved into the band up above, where she is now. So from band 2 to band 3. The other position, and I really hate saying this, the other position was mine. And it showed, and so I said, okay, did we create another band so that I'm in a separate band of myself? And he said, well, no, because what are you gonna call it? You know, fancy director, special director, like, what are you gonna call it? So he said, what we recommend is you adjust that entire salary band by 5%. And so, which is the recommendation in the packet. It does not, the adjustments to salary bands do not guarantee anybody a raise unless they're literally at the very bottom of the salary band, and the bottom now moves above them. What it does do is if we have anybody who's at the top of the salary band, which for total transparency, I am at the top of the salary band. I have not received more than a CPI increase for 5 years. Because I can't go above the salary band, by increasing it by 5%, I would now be eligible, if I scored high enough in my review, to get more than a CPI increase and to stay, you know, in line. So that's the bands themselves, that's the study that was done on that. And then in the regular salary study that we do every year, we went out and did that, and other than the salary band changes that need to be made, the first study, they felt that a CPI increase for all the bands was warranted and kept us in line with everybody else. They did also suggest that the bottom end of salary band 1 be moved up, I believe it's 6%. Again, we rarely hire somebody at the very bottom, we usually hire towards the middle. But by moving that band up, it does make the job a little more, because when someone's interviewing, they don't know where they're gonna, you know, get offered. Some people assume it's gonna be the top. Some people assume it'll be the bottom, so we don't have steps here, so it's very, very bottom. So I think that's it for my report.
Okay. Any questions?
And it was the customer service supervisor
Yes.
moving up to 4?
No, she moved from 2 to 3. This will be the new
Okay,
one.
this is the new.
This is a new one. This one also, I should actually go through that with you real quick. So this one adds a position that we do not have, the manager of capital planning and grants. We're expecting that with the study that's going to be done, that's going to be recommended. So we thought we'd just add that in for now since we're doing the salary bands now. That one moved up and we changed a couple titles. I think that was it. This study here called Market Summary Current Salary Comparison and Recommendation is the study of what to do with the bands to correct the band issue. The other one is the current year's salary study. And then there's also a report in here from BLS with the current CPI, which is 3.8%.
All right, any other questions? Okay, so, I was a little, let's see, it says that, embarking on the
Strategic plan, thank you.
strategic plan. And so I was a little confused on it. I thought it was saying that it recommends, let's see, does not indicate any changes need to be made before the strategic plan is complete. So am I reading that wrong?
Hold on a second. Somebody rewrote some of this. Oh, right. No, the changes that she's expecting from the strategic plan are changes in job descriptions, changes in titles, maybe changing the org chart so that people report differently. It's going to be such an in-depth, they may suggest we do nothing. It's going to be a very in-depth look at literally everybody's workload, what everybody does. And it may actually start, you know, moving some things around, like my department until this year, I handle finance, accounting, administration, human resources. I handle facilities until recently, grants, procurement. So they, you know, they may say, oh, you know what, you need someone else to do HR, which I would support. But they may decide that that needs to go and be part of the planning department or part of the operations department or, you know, somewhere else. So that's something they're really going to look at. We waited last year to recommend these changes because we thought the strategic plan would be done quickly, but now we're going on, this is actually the 3rd year where the salary bands have been skewed. So we didn't want to wait any longer.
Okay, so even though it says it does not indicate any changes need to be made before the origination assessment and strategic plan is completed.
Yeah,
we're doing that anyway.
she was referring to the organization, the current organizational structure, doesn't need to be changed right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like this, like, I read it as, it says manager of capital planning and grants. But that doesn't mean we're gonna put that person in.
For sure, right, and
Right,
so
it's-
the org chart here could change, they could decide that, admin should go under marketing.
Yeah.
They could decide, so that part of it is not changing, we're just doing our annual, regular, every year salary change. And then the strategic plan may take all the salary bands down and completely restructure everything and change everybody's titles and job descriptions. But we won't know for probably another like 9 months, so.
Okay, all right, any public comments?
If the person on Zoom would like to raise their hand, for public comment, please do so now. No, there's no public comment.
Okay, then, can I get a motion to send this to the board? And I will second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna reword that paragraph before it goes to the board.
I'm sorry?
I'm gonna reword that paragraph before it goes to the board. Thank you for pointing that out.
Thank you. Okay, I'll come to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Just for clarification.
okay. Then, we're moving on to item 9, adoption of updated conflict of interest code.
Okay, so we are required to regularly look at our conflict of interest code.
They do have our hand raised for some reason now. Oh, now they put it down. Did you want to speak on public comment? The person in the audience on Zoom, your hand was raised. Not anymore.
Okay, so we have to review the conflict of interest code and we need to make any changes every 2 years. The only change is a change in title. We had to take out the director of planning and marketing and make it the director of customer experience and the director of planning. So that's the only changes to our conflict of interest code. It's still the same basic positions that have to fill out the Form 700s and all that sort of thing.
Okay,
Question.
Yes.
Every time a position title changes,
For a director, for somebody who would have to report.
you have to then change this document. You can't say like anyone X position and above.
It's okay, because I won't have to do it technically every 2 years, and it's really just deleting one and putting in the other, but then Jennifer has to file it with the county. Yeah, there is other work to it, but, they're just trying to keep us, if you have no changes, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But we've had a lot of changes in the last few years, with title changes.
okay, if there are no other questions, do we have any questions? Is there a hand up now or is that
If you'd like to speak on Zoom, the attendee, please raise your hand.
on item 9, adoption of updated conflict of interest code?
No hand raised,
Okay,
so no public comment.
super. Then, I'd like a motion to approve the resolution or move to the board for approval of resolution and of conflict of interest code.
Also moved.
And second that, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and so we're on to item 10.
Okay. This is the resolution authorizing investment of our funds into the LAAF account. LAVTA is required, as all government agencies are, to get board approval for their investment strategy every year. We only invest funds in the LAAF, so this resolution, which is identical to last year's resolution, is essentially our way of notifying you that that is our investment strategy for the next year.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Nope, even though I think the word money is funny, and I know it's technically a word, but.
I don't want to look persons either, like they're people.
Okay, and any questions?
There's nobody as public attendee right now in Zoom, and there's nobody in the audience.
Okay, great. Then I need a motion for,
So
okay, and seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Motion carries. Then moving on to item 11, preview of upcoming committee agenda items.
Okay, so for June, what we have planned for you are the minutes and treasurer's report as always. And then we will be bringing to you an I-680 Express Bus Program MOU. That'll be an MOU between us and County Connection to hopefully run express buses down I-680. And then we're looking at a draft fare structure change that will be coming to you next month. July, we do not have committee meetings because we don't have board meetings in August, so you get a little bit of a break. And then August committee meeting will be minutes, treasurer's report, and the final of the fare structure changes after all the inputs received. September, we will have our minutes. We have an FTA triennial review coming up in July. I can't remember if Christie has mentioned this. It is a huge undertaking. It is a lot of work. It's like 3 months of preparation. And then they come in and grill you for a couple of days in July. So that'll be coming up this summer. And you will be getting the results of the review. And it's literally, there's a section on finance, but it's everything. It's procurement, it's how you're taking care of your property that was paid for by federal money. It is very in-depth and very detailed. So it's a lot of work, but we'll get it done this summer, and then we have 3 years. And then we will be bringing a cloud-based TSP design task order to you. And then October will be our ACFR, that should be completed, and then minutes and the treasurer's report.
All right, great. Then, if no questions or comments about that, I'll move on to item 12, matters initiated by committee members. With seeing none, we'll move on to 13, which next meeting date is scheduled for June 25th, 2024. And with that, we're adjourned.
Thank you very much.